All right, Friday night, time for another Paranormal Friday Night Live chat here at the Paranormal Network. I am Paranormal Network manager and sometimes paranormal investigator Jason Hewlett, joined tonight by Taylor James Johnson. Regular viewers of our channel will know that he is the main man behind That Bigfoot Show. That's right, that one. Taylor, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. It is an honor to be here on this Friday night. This is probably one of the wildest Friday nights I've had in a long time.
Right? And what does that say about us? Like, this is, my big exciting Friday night moment too. But it's great. Like we were talking about before we went live here, like it's great because we and I have worked together for the better part of a year. We've probably chatted 1,000 times. This is the first time we've actually seen each other face to face and talked. So
I
I'm
know.
excited to have you here, Taylor. Eric, Marlowe, good evening. Good evening to you, Eric. Great to
Good
have you
evening,
here.
Eric.
So first up, we're talking Bigfoot. Bobby Cantrell, hello, my friend. What? Tell me a bit about yourself, because you're like a kind of a cryptozoologist as well as like a filmmaker, right? Like Ken Gerhard, who was on a few weeks ago, in a
I,
sense.
I like to call myself those things. That's the first step. But, but yeah, I'm I'm a filmmaker and a crypto enthusiast, a cryptozoologist, and I found that a lot of those times those worlds blend together, and it's the perfect combination actually because some of the best movies have cryptid creatures in it, and sometimes you need to know how to use a camera to find them.
Well,
Uh,
yeah,
so
it's kind of an important thing, right?
yeah, so I was like, I'm the guy for that, and I went to film school and things like that, and started getting into documentary filmmaking, and slowly, or not slowly, almost right away, I started making documentaries about mysterious creatures or legends and things like that, and I didn't mean to be like I didn't mean for that to be my thing, but why the heck not?
Well, and it's the same for me. I hope you and your cats enjoy this. Kitten Comics are tricky sim. We're going to get right into the nitty gritty soon. I too, because I'm a paranormal investigator, and a lot of the time you're trying to capture evidence. One of the best ways to get evidence is on camera, if you can somehow nab that fact. I mean, these are elusive beasts we search, be they ghosts or monsters. Why Bigfoot for you? What was it about Bigfoot that kind of really captured your attention there, Taylor?
Why Bigfoot? I remember the first time I ever knew about Bigfoot was I saw it on the cover of a book, and it was like, oh, this is a cool, interesting monster. Oh, this is real, or some people claim this is real. This is really interesting here, and so that was the childhood interest, and that grew because Bigfoot to me is kind of like the symbol of mystery, and he's also a symbol of nature and of science, and just he can Bigfoot as a animal, as a as a symbol can fit into almost anything,
Mhm.
from religion um, to evolution to history. It just everything that I'm interested in, Bigfoot is there, and so that's why I just am so fascinated by this mysterious hair covered monster. Um, and he also represents the last little bit of wildness still left in us. I honestly, I believe in Bigfoot. I believe in Sasquatch, but I don't care if we find it or not, because the journey, the story, the mystery itself is beautiful. You know,
It is.
and that goes with other creatures too. That goes with Loch Ness. That goes with Chupacabra, Mothman, all of it. Anything paranormal, supernatural. Um, just to be, if you're not interested in that stuff, I feel sorry for you. You know? I mean,
Right?
how could you not? Because sometimes with these subjects, there's a stigma, at least with Bigfoot, and they roll they roll their eyes and stuff just mentioning it, and I'm like, well, what? I mean, let's at least talk about it. Let's at least consider it. Why are you just completely shutting yourself off, being like, no, we know what's out there. We know everything, and so yeah, I'll always be a Bigfoot enthusiast. I'll always be looking, always be making projects that have something to do with Bigfoot, because even if they and how could they? How can you disprove it? But even if they prove that Bigfoot isn't out there, I'm still gonna look. I'm still gonna be watching Harry and the Hendersons.
Coming soon to the Paranormal Network is Taylor's very in-depth analysis of Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, exactly.
And I agree with you. It's like what the comment I put up, from Justin. I believe in Bigfoot and ghosts. I think they kind of go hand in hand, the two of them. And Bobby's saying I'd say that Bigfoot has to be real. Too many people have seen it, and that's true. So many people have seen or reported seeing something they can't explain. That's definitely not a bear on two legs.
Yeah.
Right. And it's seen, a version of it is seen all over the world on pretty much every continent as well. So it's very widespread, this belief. And Lyle Blackburn in one of your films, sort of said, we love mysteries, and Bigfoot's kind of the epitome of that mystery and
Oh,
things
yes.
like Bigfoot, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's in some funny commercials too. So
Yeah. At least pop culture. He's become a big, hello, Donna.
I love it. I love it.
An epitome of pop culture. And Karen, watching from BC, Canada, that's where I am.
Oh, hey everybody. How's it going?
We
Thank
got
you
a lot
for
of
watching.
people here. Which is great. What so I know up here in Canada, like when we did a Bigfoot run on We Want to Believe, we had an Indigenous artist and storyteller on, and Bigfoot is very much a part of Aboriginal culture.
Yes.
Up here north, and it's the same down in the States, isn't it? Down where you are in Texas, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, tied heavily
Absolutely.
into it. What then do you think it is? Because Aboriginals will tell you that it's not a flesh and blood creature, that it's very much a spiritual being connected to the forest. There's also the belief pattern that brings it to being a lot of cryptozoologists think of it as a flesh and blood creature, a missing link between man and ape. What do you think?
Yeah. I am open to both ideas. I'm not going to shut out either. To me, I don't think Bigfoot necessarily needs to be supernatural. Some people think, well, that's the only way they can possibly accept that this exists, is that it's something completely in another realm, or from out of this world. And I'm not saying that that isn't the case, but I feel like it's not. I don't need to go there yet, because I think there's just so much out there in our world that we haven't discovered yet. That Bigfoot's just an animal. That's where I am, number one. But it is. I mean, I am willing and open to believe every aspect of it. That's why I'm so interested in it. I'm open to believe that it's a fallen angel, a demon, a caveman ghost. But to me, I don't think it's so far fetched that it has to go there. But it does make it even more interesting, and it's another layer to it. I remember when I was a little kid and I opened up a book, and it showed an illustration of these Bigfoot creatures walking out of a UFO. And I was like, oh wow, yeah. I mean, that's and so that's always been in the back of my mind, and I've been talking to people that find Sasquatch in the Christian Bible. They find Sasquatch everywhere. What do you think?
Well, and that's my thing. And first, Rick, thank you for that comment. I know we could talk for hours about cryptids and ghosts and all that kind of stuff too. And then I just want to touch on, before I answer your question there, because Karen, we were looking up in the Kamloops Shuswap area, up in the interior of British Columbia, so not super far from where you are. The one thing I have, like it's an unknown to begin with, Bigfoot, right? I mean, enough people seen it, but it still hasn't been like 100% proven. And I hate explaining an unknown with another unknown because we haven't, you know what I mean? So the spirit world's another unknown.
Yeah.
But I just think there's been, and if you were asking me this question even like a year ago, I'd say, no, it's a flesh and blood thing. I believe 100% it's a flesh and blood
Same,
thing,
same.
right?
This is a
But
very recent thing for me. Yeah.
yeah, to consider it, but I've talked to enough people, both in the Aboriginal communities and sort of just who have been researchers. And I'm doing some reading by Carter Burchart, who's written a few books where it's just like people are having these really wild experiences that are beyond, like stories of Bigfoot, like, poking its hand through the wall of a cabin without putting a hole in it,
Yeah.
and touching them in the forehead, or get the zapping people is a terminology that's been used where they make them feel intense fear or euphoria. I've been zapped. I was out at a cabin in the Shuswap and I was fine 1 minute. And then I had this intense dread that's just like, you need to leave right now.
Hmm.
This cabin was in Bigfoot territory. And I'm like, I listened to it. I'm like, I'm not sticking around. I feel like my life's in danger if I stick around. And so I left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not, given to flights of fancy like that, but I got out. So it's getting really hard for me to deny that aspect of it, that there could be something more to it.
No,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely. Every day I lean more and more there, but yeah, I think that it's not so, like I said, far fetched to believe that there is a creature out there that is bipedal, that is, a North American ape. But I also have had ghost experiences and paranormal experiences, and I've seen a UFO, so I'm like, sure, throw this in there too. Why the heck not? And so yeah, I'm open for anything.
I'm like you, and Bigfoot and aliens go hand in hand. They could. I mean, there's a lot of that. That's becoming. It was very woo in the paranormal field. It seems to be becoming a more mainstream thought. I think you look at areas like the stories circulate around Skinwalker Ranch, where you kind of get a little bit of everything. You
Oh
get like
man,
creatures, poltergeist activity, portals to other worlds, allegedly.
all of it.
I
All of
think
it's just right there. Or maybe that's just maybe all of this is everywhere, and just Skinwalker Ranch is where it's allowed to happen.
right, or we're just not seeing it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know there's an investigator named Paul Dino who wrote a book called Beyond the Paranormal, and they tap heavily into multiverse theory, and
hmm,
and to me that sounds like a way to explain all this stuff. Why Bigfoot you get Bigfoot tracks in the snow that stop halfway through someone's yard and then they're
yeah,
just gone.
yeah.
And why Loch Ness monster isn't seen which is off topic, but isn't seen all the time because it goes somewhere else. What do you think? Like, what do you think about that? Is that getting a little too away from what cryptozoology should be looking at?
No, no. I am open to sea serpents. I'm open to. I'm absolutely open. I'm certain there are things in the waters that we do not know about, just as much as the deep, deep forests. Whether Nessie is that, I don't know, but I am certain that there are creatures out there in the water that we do not know about. Maybe at one time there was something there. Um, but I actually did a one of my film school projects in college was about Georgia's Loch Ness monster,
Mhm.
the Altamaha, in the Altamaha River. They add an extra ha to it because it's like they're laughing at you, Altamaha,
Gotcha, gotcha.
because it's so funny. Um, but the people who know, they call it Alti. And so yeah, that is always a subject that I'm very interested in, and that one is maybe even a little more out there than Bigfoot, because when I presented this documentary of Georgia's Loch Ness, when I presented it to the class, it actually upset a lot of the students. They were like, because it was a nature documentary class, and they're like, this isn't this isn't nature documentary. This is some guy just saying silly stuff, and it's about a. And then the professor was actually on my side. Like, no, this film actually looks at the animals, the wildlife, the history, and so this subject, even though it is presented in a scientific, cinematic manner, um, the eyes roll, and that's the least scientific thing to possibly do, is to completely shut something off, even if it sounds ridiculous to you. And 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 so yeah, I think there's something in Loch Ness. Is it a prehistoric dinosaur? Is I don't know, or maybe just a really really big eel.
Yeah, that's a big one too, right?
I'm kind of leaning towards big eel, which that's fascinating too. Like, oh, it's just a big eel. Like, what? No, it's a
That's
big
a
eel.
really big eel, man.
A big
It's
eel's
a
a
big
big eel.
eel.
Yeah. But what was actually really interesting in the when I was investigating the Altamaha Ha creature was that I found that in that area of Georgia was settled by a lot of people from Scotland, from the same
Mhm.
area of Loch Ness. So did they bring that legend over? Saw a manatee, a big turtle, which are there, river dolphins. I got footage of. I didn't get a footage of a big turtle, but I got footage of river dolphins. They're there, and you're like, "Whoa, what was that big thing?" Just popping
Yep.
out of the river. And so they're like, "Hey, that's the same. That's Lit Nissy. She followed us." You know,
Which
and so I find that interesting. Like I said, I don't care if there is a dinosaur in the river. The fact that they brought that story across the ocean is fascinating as well. Um, and so it's
Oh,
on
I
YouTube.
know, and that's what I like, and that kudos. This is, Shawn here, who's our resident skeptic on We Wanna Believe and does all the music. He likes the eeltake and sturgeon too,
Yeah,
which I figured he would like that. Um, Taking it back to Bigfoot a bit, like, there's been a lots of, like, hoaxes over the years with that. How do you think that hurts the chances of ever actually proving to people that this is real? All the people that are kinda going out, you know what I mean? Going
yeah,
out and faking it and saying, creating the fake carcasses. Do you think that hurt, and the fake footprints? Do you think that hurts the chances of anyone ever being convinced there actually is something?
absolutely, absolutely. It has done damage that I think we may never heal from. If even if we do find something, even I, in the back of my mind, is going to be like, well, maybe this is even just the fact that people would go out of their way to do those things has completely. Imagine if there was never, if hoaxing didn't exist, and all we had were actual evidence, and that we could, we may know something by now. We may know something about, not necessarily even just Bigfoot, just nature, just of humans, how we got here in general, and the effects that it has on humanity. We can never measure. We'll never know. We could be living in a perfect world right now, but because of that dude that got a Halloween costume, he ruined everything.
As Shawn
And
says here, people ruin everything, and I agree with
yes,
you there, brother, right?
people. Oh man, people.
If it
They
was
they always they always ruin everything. If it wasn't for people, we'd know about Sasquatch.
right. Gregor here often wonders if Bigfoot could be a tulpa and that the belief takes on a life of its own.
Hmm. Yeah,
Which what
that's
do you think of
interesting.
that there, Taylor?
I've often wondered that, where we have built, like we said, Bigfoot is everywhere.
Yeah.
He is everywhere. He's in commercials. He's in films. Every time I turn on the TV, or he's advertising soap now. Um, and so yeah, there could be this manifestation of this this symbol that we have in our minds that has become
A
an
real thing.
actual walking creature out there. And or it's a something demonic pretending to be something that that's trying to trick us. Oh, look at that.
Well, they
Um,
say that with the UFO theory too, right? Like, there's that whole
yeah,
belief that it's demon. I mean, I don't even like to go there
that
because
ruins
that just is,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's too scary to think about, which why I'm. It's probably true.
So what do you think it's going to take then to if it is out there to prove its existence? Do we need to haul a body out of the woods, unfortunately, to really get people to believe it, or do you
Yeah,
think?
and it may even need to be alive
Yeah,
to and even then, it's a deep fake. It's a Rick Baker special effect. I like nowadays facts can be just right there, and
yeah.
they'll still just be like, no, so I don't know anymore.
What if it's even possible,
I
right?
think yeah, it would have to take like Bigfoot just like taking over the world and enslaving us all and then enforcing us to believe, and then we would believe, then we would comply. uh,
Yeah, that would
so
be
yeah,
that'd be insanity.
it, would,
Like, that would be
it,
insanity if it
it
was
would
even possible.
definitely take a lot. For me it won't take much. uh, for me it just took seeing him on the cover of a book. I'm like, oh yeah, I believe in that.
Well, and I'm just like, I think the world's more interesting to have these creatures in it, whether they're real or not. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I kind of look at that, and I think the hope of that they could be kind of in a way gives me a sense of hope that there's more to life than just this boring reality that we kind of live in right now. You know what I mean? And like Charles Rudd says here, I hope you never find Sasquatch. Part of me hopes we never do either. You know what I mean?
That would ruin it even more than the hoaxers ruin it.
Right? Because the hunt's so much fun.
Yeah,
For this.
what am I gonna do now? I mean,
That Bigfoot show, the after party, you know, kind of thing.
yeah,
See what goes on with that.
special guest Bigfoot, I
Yeah.
guess.
Shawn has a theory here. Coordinated search with tech. It would be great to move into an area ripe with sightings, launch a bunch of drones with cameras, heat detection, etc., which we do on our paranormal investigations, bring as much gear in as we can
Yeah.
to try to capture something. I think that would kind of be the real way. You have to be really serious about it. Kind of like what Werner Herzog pretended to do in Incident at Loch Ness,
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah.
which is a movie I adore.
I love that one.
Um, what about okay, what are your thoughts on the Patterson Gimlin film? Which I mean, do you think it's like there's those that believe it is a hoax? Many
Yeah.
who believe it isn't. What do you think?
I've gone back and forth on it. Right now, I do believe that this is true. Um, I mean, at first, when you first hear like, oh, there was some guy who came out that said he was the guy in the suit, and then like four other guys came out and said that. So it was like, well, somebody's lying here. So I think that kind of just, because that's the thing that's always thrown at me. Somebody admitted to being the guy, and that's you're just gonna trust him, but you're not gonna trust Bob.
Yeah.
You know but I think the muscle tone, especially at the time, if you go and look at Planet of the Apes, which was fantastic makeup at top notch at the time, still couldn't compare to that shaky, horrible grainy footage. Um and it was the right area at the right time. That's kind of one of the reasons why I believe that something's out there, is you just got to think of the time that it happened. Right now we have this modern mindset where we're like, we know what's out there, we know every creature out there, we've been to zoos, we've watched the Discovery Channel. But a couple decades ago, great grandpappy sees something in the woods. Oh, I saw something. He's not going to call Animal Planet. He's not going to call find. It's just going to be a family tale. and during my documentary productions, during my expeditions, I found that it's just like everybody in these certain areas, everybody's granddaddy has the same story. There was no website to put it on. It was just the hairy people in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they
The
call them,
wild
just
man
the
and
hairy
the
people in the woods.
yeah.
And they didn't know. They're like, "Oh, didn't learn about that in school. I guess it's there.
Yeah.
Moving on." But now we can't comprehend that. Now it would change our entire world. It would shatter it. And so at the time when the Patterson Gimlin film was released, that kind of changed everything because we finally had the technology to get this out there. Um, and so even if it is fake, it opened up a lot of minds and people to get interested and get out there. But I believe them.
It's like I'm like you. I'm a kind to do that, and there was a lot. There was a time. It's interesting because there's also a lot of people who had these experiences back then who wouldn't talk about it for fear of ridicule because it wasn't an accepted thing. It wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
Now, though, it is mainstream. You could come out and say it that, oh my God, I had this experience, and there'd be those that believed you, but then there'd be all these people who would just shame you out of existence and wouldn't believe what you're saying, right? Even
Yeah.
though the world is so much more accepting of the paranormal in general.
No,
It's as big a part of pop culture as anything.
yeah. And Bigfoot bullying, I mean, it sounds weird, it sounds funny, but it's actually it's a real thing. Like I've come across people that they're just like, it ruined my life. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Mhm.
And they're like, that's really sad. This is supposed to be fun, you know, but
Yeah.
you're like, no, everybody thinks I'm crazy. Uh I don't want to be in your documentary. And it's just like, wow. Um and you know, I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I was a mainstream journalist, who loved the paranormal, and if I had talked about my love of the paranormal, I would have had no credibility and would have been fired. You know what I mean? Because of that, because there's no way any self-respecting journalist would believe in the possibility that anything like that could even exist.
Hey, lucky for me, I never had credibility, so I was Bigfoot right here. Yeah, it's on my shirt. It's on my underwear. You want to see? Yeah.
I've abandoned my credibility. I just go for this stuff. It's way more fun. Um, what you've been on some expeditions. Do you have any kind of interesting encounters or stories you could share here, Taylor, before we kind of wrap up for the evening? Or
Let me think here. Ironically, or interesting that whenever I'm on a Bigfoot expedition or hunt or something, I usually encounter. I usually have something else. Like one of the most interesting ghost experiences or paranormal experiences I had was when I was in like a bed and breakfast hotel waiting for a Bigfoot hunt. And so it's like I come back like, "Hey Taylor, did you find Bigfoot?" I'm like, "No, but a little girl tapped on my head late at night." Uh,
it wasn't actually there.
yeah, and then I actually had I made a Bigfoot that Bigfoot show episode about this, but I saw uh, an unidentified flying object outside of a plane,
That was awesome.
and nobody believed me because I had a Bigfoot lives written on my shirt, and so it was just like every time it's like I don't know, every time I kind of have something, it's always ruined by something else. Um, but I have not had a Sasquatch experience. I will be very honest, but the second I do, you'll be the first to hear about it.
Well, I look forward to that. 'Cause the closest I have would be that intense fear reaction that I had out in the woods. Um, and it's just typical because when we want to believe, went looking for Bigfoot, like we got what could be wood knocks. That was the closest that we got to anything. But we got a ghost too.
Mhm.
Like you know, a mutual a friend of ours has a comment for here. You Ken Gerhard says, "Have you ever searched for Chupacabra?"
I have. Actually, it's Ken. It's called the Texas blue dog. Now, any serious cryptozoologist would know the difference. Um, but yeah, actually, Ken took me under his wing and brought me out on an expedition to find some chupacabras, or AKA the Texas blue dogs. and I got to film the journey, film all the fun times, and you know, we felt like there was something off in the distance at one time. It was probably somebody's, German Shepherd in their yard. We were on a ranch. Of course, the cameras couldn't pick it up, but
The cameras never do.
I'm sure it was right behind me.
Right? The cameras never do. It's always when you turn the camera off that it jumps out in front of you and says,
And,
"Gotcha."
and when the battery dies, that's
Yeah,
when,
or the
yeah.
lights go out or anything. But people, if you were tuning in a few weeks ago, Ken Gerhard joined me here on the show, which was awesome to actually chat with Ken. He's a
Oh
great
yeah.
guy. Rick, here's Taylor. Friend me on Facebook. I can help you. I have been ridiculed all my life for just sharing what I saw.
Rick
Well,
London, or Louden, I will. Is that how you pronounce it?
that would be awesome.
I'm gonna
Write that down.
make a note of that right now. There you go.
That'd be great. And then I guess what's coming up on that Bigfoot show here? I mean, we have the much teased Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh man, yeah, I
Coming up.
got Harry and the Hendersons. It's the one of my favorite movies. One of the reasons why I'm interested in this. Part of that Bigfoot show is to examine the pop culture aspect of the Sasquatch legend, and I felt like Harry and the Hendersons was the perfect movie to go after. And so we'll be seeing my review and my breakdown of it any day now. And
Perfect.
and then I hope to do another episode soon on the Ape Canyon attack, which is terrifying.
That'd be
Terrifying.
awesome. I think it'd be cool to touch on the Albert Osman whole experience up here in Canada. That would be a great. We could talk, and we'll have you back on, Taylor, because we could talk Bigfoot forever. We barely even scratched the surface, I think, of this fascinating topic, and
I
clearly
know,
people
right?
are interested because we had a lot of people join us tonight.
Loudon, Rick Loudon. That's how you pronounce it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rick, for coming on. Thanks to everyone else who joined us. Brother Shawn, it was great to have you join in as well. Taylor, thanks so much, man, for talking. It was great. We'll have you back here in the future. We'll
Hey,
talk
my
more
pleasure.
Bigfoot. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. And if all goes well, we're going to be talking Amityville. Until then, have yourselves a great weekend.